The roundup. Let's get it cracking. Bob Arum confirms that Shakur Stevenson, his future is up in the air. What does this mean? Shakur's next fight with Artem Harutyunyan in his hometown of Newark, New Jersey, is his last contracted fight with Top Rank. You guessed it. In a brand new interview with Fight Hype, Bob Arum says, no, we haven't talked to PBC about a Gervonta Davis fight because of Shakur's contract with us. So we're going to see if they're going to do an extension with us, and then we'd certainly be happy to talk to them about Gervonta Davis. So he's basically saying that Shakur will be a free agent. In closing, Bob Arum says in this interview, Shakur will now be a free agent after his July 6th fight against Harutyunyan. At that particular point, we have to know what his plans are before we can make any commitments with him, because we may not be his promoter. Boom. You never know. This paper is 95%, but it's entertaining, and you won't let me read it. So you entertain me. You heard it right there. Boom. You never know. Let me read that again. Bob Arum of Top Rank says Shakur will now be a free agent after the July 6th fight. At that particular point, we have to know his plans before we can make any commitments with him, because we may not be his promoter. Boom. Very interesting times for Shakur Stevenson. Shakur has criticized Gervonta Davis, who fights this next weekend against Frank Martin. Doesn't make sense to me, because Shakur said he was going to fight Frank Martin, and that's what the reports were about. But then the fight never materialized. So at the end of the day, he's almost hating on Tank Davis on a fight that he wanted. So he wants the Tank fight, and he wanted the Frank Martin fight, but now they're fighting each other on PBC. And guess what? He's saying, oh, Frank Martin ain't the lead, this, that, and the third. So I find that a bit weird. The other thing that makes this very interesting is Bob Arum is letting you know, we don't know. We may not be promoting him, similar to Terrence Crawford. After the Sean Porter fight with Top Rank, Crawford literally said at the press conference, how is Bob Arum gonna, control my next move when he not gonna be my promoter? Something to this effect. So we'll have to see what Shakur Stevenson decides, but his next move hopefully is his best move, and we'll see what he decides. But Shakur did complain earlier this year about basically Top Rank not giving him certain fights and blackballing him because he is a black fighter. And he made it sound racial, kind of like Terrence Crawford, who's his big bro, before he left. So I'm not going to speculate. I'll let Shakur make his decision and notify the public as to what he's going to do and where he's going to go. But very interesting times in the world of boxing. We have to see what happens with Tank versus Frank. But if he wants the winner, they have a rematch clause, and I've already talked about that. But beyond that, he would likely have to sign to PBC. So we'll see what happens there. And it looks like, man, AB, another bicuspid, a lot of blood. Adrien "The Problem" Broner was not the winner of his Blair Cobbs fight, and the commentators got it right. It looks like Broner really lost a tooth in his fight with Blair Cobbs. Now, this is pretty disastrous if you're at the stage of the career that Broner is currently at, where you're literally getting your tooth knocked out. You got dropped in the second round, although you warred back and, showed heart that Broner always showed, even when he was hurt, versus Marcos Maidana. Now, speaking of Maidana, I'm really believing that the Maidana fight, and sometimes it works like this in boxing, but I'm really starting to believe that the Maidana fight really changed the trajectory of Broner's career. I think the move from 135 to 147, his first fight, he had a split decision with Paulie Malignaggi. At that point, you had already earned the title, I would have considered my options, maybe move down to 140, but Maidana was a bridge too far, and it looks like it's impacted Broner. Now you're not capable of beating Blair Cobbs. Now, to add to the injury report, full disclosure, Broner did say he had a dislocated shoulder and a fractured elbow, something to this effect, via social media. So he got pretty banged up in this fight, and I tell you, inactivity is not your friend in the sport of boxing. Broner's timing looked off. He just didn't look like the same fighter, if I'm being frank and I'm being honest. And then now he's confirming that his tooth indeed did get knocked down, which adds insult to injury. Blair Cobbs, you know, this is not a slight at him, but it didn't look like he was this world beater either. He just was better than Broner on the night. Timing matters in the sport of boxing. In other news, file this in the Ego Rumor Mill column. Vergil Ortiz and Serhii Bohachuk have agreed to fight. That is the latest rumor in the world of boxing. Once again, Ortiz Jr., Bohachuk. Now, some people may not be familiar with Bohachuk's name. That means you're not a diehard boxing fan. Bohachuk just fought on Amazon Prime's first card with PBC. It was the card initially supposed to be Tim Tszyu and Keith Thurman, and then it ended up being Sebastian Fundora, who's now a 2-belt champion at 154, who beat Tim Tszyu, and that was because Keith Thurman pulled out with the injury. This left Bohachuk, who was supposed to fight Sebastian Fundora, without a dance partner. So Bohachuk ended up fighting Brian Mendoza on that Amazon Prime PBC card in March. And Bohachuk's 29. He looked impressive in that particular fight if you ordered the pay-per-view, which I did. I was very impressed with Bohachuk. Vergil Ortiz, he is one of the few guys in boxing that has 100% knockout ratio, meaning every fight that he has, he's 21-0. He has the same amount of knockouts, 21-0 with 21 knockouts. You have Bohachuk with the pretty similar record. He's 24-1 with 23 knockouts. So these guys both have power. I love this fight. This is a great fight. Shout out to Riyadh Season. And this is a great substitute since Tim Tszyu was forced to withdraw from the August 3rd fight with Vergil Ortiz because he had a cut that hadn't fully healed. So I'm with this smoke. Hopefully they announce this and make this. I don't know if it'll still be on the card because they announced Jared Big Baby Anderson is going to be on the card fighting Martin Bacoli, and they announced Eminem, but they didn't say anything about this particular fight. So the rumor is Vergil Ortiz Jr. versus Serhii Bohachuk, which is a great fight. I don't know if it's going to be separate to Riyadh Season. Maybe Golden Boy's making the fight. Maybe they put it on the Riyadh Season card. That information is not known at this time, but somebody's going to sleep. You heard me. I said somebody going to sleep. In this fight, somebody will go to sleep. There'll definitely be action, knockdowns, probably someone getting stopped. That would be my prediction. File this under the Ego Banger Alert. Be on the lookout. I'll keep you guys posted when more information is made available.